how has it been for veteran journalists to meet these new expectations?
Well, I think it depends on the institution or establishment they're working for. So I think for some journalists, it's been not as difficult, while other newsrooms have moved more quickly to a multi-platform or poly-publishing model. And I think in those places, a lot of journalists have been asked to do more work and do it in different ways. So print journalists have been asked to file to the web. In fact, most print journalists now are filing to the web. Certainly TV and radio people are using digital technology in order to capture both audio and video. They're also being asked to file to the web. So I think it's more work and different work.
All right, how about the training involved? I know, like, people who have been in journalism school in the last couple of years, there's been more emphasis on getting them prepared for this new type of newsroom. But how about the people who've been in the newsroom for about 10, 15 years? How are they helping them learn?
Yeah, I think based on my knowledge of what's happening in most newsrooms is you have two or three different kinds of approaches. Some people are learning on the job, taking the skills they have from their own personal life or at home and bringing them in. Other people are getting what's called on-job education. At Metroland and Torstar chain, there's a whole program called WebU, or Web University, and that's pretty much been designed to take every employee through the process of learning more about the web, more about digital technology, flip cameras, digital audio, etc. I know Torstar has many workshops that I've attended a few where their reporters and editors attend to learn about social media, Twitter, blogging, etc., etc. So I think a lot of the companies are trying their best to institute some in-house training. CBC particularly, I know that for a fact too.
Okay. So do you think that there's a link between this multi-platform journalism and the decrease in jobs in the industry?
Well, I don't know if you can draw a direct relationship between those two things. They're certainly happening simultaneously. Whether they're causal or not is a little trickier to unravel. Clearly, newsrooms are facing some economic pressures, and so layoffs and terminations and just becoming smaller by attrition is happening pretty much across North America. The Pew Institute has issued its Excellence in Media report every year, the state of the media, and it shows a dramatic decline in newsroom populations across North America, in the thousands actually across North America. Now, at the same time, does that mean fewer people are doing more work? Yep, it sure does. Does it mean that they're losing their jobs because of the introductions of technology? Probably to some extent, but I couldn't nail that for sure for you.
All right. How about when it comes to the content that's being generated? Do you think that there's some issues around ethics or the type of in-depth investigation that's getting done when this multi-platform or integrated newsroom is at the forefront?
Yeah, well, that question has a lot of parts to it, so let me try and answer a couple of them. One, I think the decline in long-form and deep investigative work happened or was happening before the introduction of multimedia and online media, so that's really a question of budgets and manpower and the willingness of institutions to devote the kind of manpower you need to difficult stories that don't often work out. At the same time, I think, for your second part of your question, are there problems with ethics, with stories, etc.? All kinds of problems. Certainly newspapers have had a lot of challenges around blogging. If reporters are blogging online, are they blogging after work? Are they blogging for work? Are their views being expressed on the blog? Are those views different from the articles they write, if they write analysis and opinion? If not, if they're straight reporters, are they allowing the injection of their views to become a part of their blogs, and what do you do about that? The reason I'm asking those as questions is there are no answers yet to those. Some people have put out guidelines like the Washington Post and the New York Times. I know the Toronto Star was struggling with guidelines as well. It's pretty new territory. And then when you add social media, what do you do on your Facebook site? What do you do with your own Twitter feed? Do all the rules of daily journalism apply to all of those platforms? We're still working all that out now. What's clear to most people is they have to be in the game. So I think they're moving ahead. Jian Ghomeshi has a Twitter feed. All kinds of reporters have blogs. And then we're going to work out the rules as we go and see how it all turns out.
Okay. What kind of advice or hopes would you have for young reporters they've only experienced this type of a newsroom, and what do you hope that they will keep in mind when they're going to be in this type of environment?
Well, I think you have to look at it positively. I mean, clearly there are a lot of challenges around this, around employment, around stability of jobs, around long-term contracts, things that I think are really important for journalists to have. Some of that is not going very well. On the other hand, if you take a positive perspective, and as many editors have realized, the audience for the work that journalists are doing has never been larger. In other words, when you add the mainstream or traditional audience to the new web audience, you have more people reading your work, looking at your video, listening to your audio than ever before. So that's fantastic. Two, you have more ways to tell your story. And as graduates come out of journalism schools better equipped to tell stories in a multimedia way, the richness of their stories can be increased. So I think it's going to be rough sailing for a while as the economic models shake themselves out, and I don't think that's going to be easy, and I think it's going to be difficult for young journalists. But at the end of the day, I remain firmly convinced that the world needs storytellers, and that important stories must be told in democracies. News must get out to people, and journalists are going to do that work using a variety of tools. It's exciting. It's an exciting time for journalists.
And how about for the public, do you think that now that they have these options of seeing the same story in print and then on the web, video, audio, all that sort of thing, do you think that it helps them understand the issues of the day better than maybe when they were only looking at it in one form?
Well, it would seem to suggest that. I mean, the common wisdom is that the more information you have, the more ways that it's being expressed, the better it is for the audience. I have some mixed feelings about that in the sense that, when you do more intent analysis on it, you see that many of the stories are reproductions of stories, are links to stories, or are commentary upon stories. What you can't deny is that almost anybody with a computer and a decent hookup to the web can view really good information outlets from all around the world. You can look at the Globe and Mail, the Guardian, the Economist, any newspaper or outlet across North America and across the world. I think that's new. I think that's pretty amazing, and I think people who want to spend the time and do the work have a fantastic resource at their disposal every single day.
Okay.